The United Irishmen was a society formed in 1791. The Irish leaders, driven to rise up by colonial imposition, were inspired by the American Revolution from 1775 to 1783 and the French Revolution in 1789. The aim of the movement was to gain freedom for Ireland. The motto was, equality. This is new and strong and shall be heard. The society had many principled Church of Ireland Protestants in its leadership. Members were mostly Catholics and dissenters, mainly Ulster Presbyterians. These last were also victims of severe English penal laws, said to be a machine of wise and elaborate contrivance, for the oppression, impoverishment and degradation of a people, as ever proceeded from the perverted ingenuity of man. The charismatic Theobald Wolfe Tone, the leader of the United Irishmen, sought rights for his Presbyterian and Catholic countrymen. He and Nappertandy, son of a Quaker ironmonger, a man of conviction and principle, went to Paris to ask Napoleon Bonaparte for help. Napoleon said to Wolfe Tone, "Mais vous êtes brave, goodness, you are courageous." The movement, however, was not halted. The English General Lake said, "I am convinced that the contest must lie between the army and the people." Uncontrolled, extrajudicial murder was to be the order of the day. In Athy, County Kildare, on the 1st of May 1798, triangles first appeared. A victim was secured to a wooden triangular structure and then flogged to death. If they had no information to give, there were right-handed and left-handed floggers. They flogged in unison. Tiring floggers had replacements, to ensure torture continued, removing skin, muscle and blood. Portable, traveling gallows were used for half-hangings. Victims could be hanged from a wooden structure or hanged over a soldier's back. They were revived, each time they lost consciousness from the strangulation. In another procedure, called picketing, the victim was left hanging but could choose to stand a while, if he were able, on sharp-pointed stakes. When close to death, this victim would also be let down, revived and hanged again. This would be repeated until it was as well to leave the victim hanging. In all cases, the outcome was a horrifying death. For pitch capping, a conical cap filled with boiling pitch, or tar, was fitted to a victim's head. The boiling tar ran down the face and into the eyes and mouth. When the pitch had cooled, the cap was pulled off, with most of the scalp. Shears were used to remove long hair, often with the ears too. Sometimes gunpowder was added to the boiling tar, which was then set alight. The most famous of around a dozen priests, put to death, was the Wexford priest, Father John Murphy, of Boudavogue. He was stripped, flogged, hanged, beheaded and his corpse burned across from his church. The English occupation put such fear into the people that women and children willingly went out to battle, beside their men, to certain death. The method of crushing the rebellion, such as it was, fought mainly with farm implements, against guns, may well have been one of those things about which, on the 18th of May 2011, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II said things which we would wish had been done differently or not at all. Connacht had escaped from the pillage of General Lake. On the 22nd of August 1798, General Humbert came from France, at Killala, County Mayo. Many young men, from the locality, joined his army, including the men of Doonquaycorn, County Mayo. On August 31, 1798, he set up the Republic of Connacht and he appointed one John Moore as its president. The pitiful physical state of the destitute people in Ireland, hungry, and by times unclothed, struck home, in the French soldiers. General Humbert considered marching to Granard, but the Irish had suffered defeat there. An English commander at Granard, by the name of Heppenstall, was called the Walking Gallows. A Wicklow man, he would throw a victim over his shoulder, with a rope around his neck, and jump around until the victim was dead. When the English grew tired of hanging, any prisoners still alive were tied up and left lying on the road overnight. In the morning, a herd of cattle was driven over them. Anyone still alive, after that, was shot. In the days which followed, an orgy of burnings, floggings and shootings of local people began, to deter anyone from joining Humbert. The English general, Cornwallis, knew that Humbert was heading for Balnamuck. The English numbered about 35,000. Humbert's forces numbered less than 2,000. The battle took place on the 8th of September. Humbert's army must surrender. The French were taken as prisoners of war. The Irish prisoners were slaughtered. After the action at Balnamuck, the regiment marched to Carrick-on-Shannon where, before them in the courthouse, there were a couple of hundred rebels. An order arrived from Cornwallis directing a certain number of them to be hanged without further ceremony, and a number of bits of paper were rolled up with the word "death" being written on the number ordered to be killed. With the slips of paper in a hat, Adjutant Captain K entered the courthouse and the drawing of lots began. 2 places of execution were used in Carrick-on-Shannon. Prisoners not hanged at the first site were sent to the second. Yet other prisoners were exported, as slaves, to colonies like Australia and Tasmania. During the first 2 weeks of September 1798, more soldiers and bigger armies than local people had ever seen marauded across the Leitrim and the Fena countryside. Robbery, rape and murder of young and old was carried out by soldiers who could take free quarters wherever they chose and had free rein to do whatever they wanted. Our 3 princesses, who came with us to Ireland as the ancients had wished, are called Era, Banba, and Fola. They see to the land and people, to their defense and to learning. But another stage in their relegation into obscurity had come. And famine was yet to occur in 1845.